Uno, dos, one, two, tres, cuatro.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Rethink Your Legacy, and this is the first show online. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. The show has been going for over 2.5 years now, and this is our first show. We're moving to a platform where I can see you now. I know some of you might be listening to this in our podcast, and that's totally cool. You won't be able to get it. If you want to get it, you have to jump over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Keystone Law Firm. I've got a bit of a short show today. Really what I think today I want to focus on is some of the issues that are just exploding in our firm. Not really our firm's issues, they're issues that people are dealing with. And I want you guys to know, for those of you that are faced with something like this. So this is something that comes up after somebody has passed away, and you are the unlucky you're the unlucky recipient of being designated as the executor or the trustee, and you're going to carry out the job. There's a ton of legal obligations and duties. The biggest thing I want you to know in that position is that if you accept the job, you are liable. You accept the job, you're liable. You can't get around it. So before you accept the job, understand what you're accepting responsibility for. I guess before you even get to that, you don't have to accept the job. Just because you've been nominated doesn't mean you have to accept the job. You can decline. The document will either say, if you decline, here's the next person, or if it doesn't say that, it'll say if you decline and there's nobody named, it'll say then usually it'll say something like, then the court can appoint someone, and that's fine. Then you just kind of throw everything at the court and say, I don't want this job. And the court will push somebody into that position, probably a professional. So you don't have to take it. But if you do, you can be deemed to have accepted it just because you started doing some of the things. You start collecting bank accounts, you start going and securing the house, you start passing stuff out. That means you've accepted the job. So be very, very careful. Okay, what happens if you do something wrong? This is what happens. Well, we had a gal who accepted the job as trustee, and unfortunately, she went and got advice from a lawyer who doesn't do very much trust administration. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a lawyer that does trust administration. Different than a probate lawyer, different than an estate planning lawyer, different than a business lawyer, different than a tax lawyer, different than it's not. You want someone who's administered a trust after someone's passed away, and they've done it a bunch. So anyway, she went to someone, got bad advice, and now she's in a world of hurt because she didn't do things the right way. There are very specific things you have to send out, certain notices, certain amount of information, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to try to go through all those details with you today. Today, I want to go through if you're the executor of an estate. Okay, they didn't have a trust and something is going through probate and you're the executor. In Arizona, we also call that the personal representative. What are your duties? I am going to cover a few of the big ones and make sure you know what they are. I'm going to give you guys resources. You can always watch this recording. You can always, we're also going to be providing the transcript of this. Yeah, so you can read it on our website. So you'll have tons of access to this. If you have questions about what to do, just call, click in here, schedule your first free appointment, and don't step in a big pile of mess or make something worse just because you didn't know. So I want to show you guys. See, look at this. I can put it on the screen and actually show you. It's pretty cool. So here are your duties of personal representative. The biggest one is that you are a fiduciary. You need to know that you're a fiduciary because that is the general rule that governs everything when you're acting in that capacity. So think about it. Think about it in this way. A fiduciary, the legal rule is that you have to put their interests, their best interest, ahead of your own. So it's like being a parent in a lot of ways. I've got 4 kids. They're what are they, 11 to 15 now? Yeah. Um, seems like every day is what's in their best interest, right? No, then you're raising spoiled kids. So, but as a parent, especially when they're young, you don't get to sleep. You are using everything you have to make sure they are alive. And that's what we do as parents. So as a fiduciary, you're kind of in that same role. So think of it in that way. As an executor, as a personal representative, the other beneficiaries are who you have to worry about. In addition, you have to worry about the creditors, because guess who gets paid first? Yeah, the creditors. We had a gal who, it was her and her brother. Her dad passed away. This was years ago. And got all the way to where distributions were made. It ended up being, hundreds of thousands of dollars, sold the house, sold everything. Distributions were made. And she came to us when she got this nasty gram from a law firm that said, hey, don't spend any of that money. There's a creditor out here that's owed about $150,000. If you spend it, we're coming after you personally because you need to give this money back. And if you don't, we're coming after your house. We're coming after your retirement, we're coming after your savings. We're coming after everything. They were literally going to they were threatening to go after and destroy her own personal financial life. And they can do that because creditors are first. Your duty as an executor is to take care of creditors first and then the beneficiaries. So all of them are in one category. You're out here in the other category. Your legal obligation is to make sure they get what they're entitled to. And if you screw it up, guess who they get to come after? They get to come after you. When you work with a lawyer who does a lot of this work and can guide you through that process, that's the advantage. Is if the lawyer told you to pay this and that, and you do, and then later somebody comes after you, you can just throw them at the lawyer and say, you guys told me, you deal with it. And then we have to deal with it. Obviously, we do this a lot, so we don't make that mistake. But that's what you need to do. There's been, we had another one, a gal who had a very, very, very simple situation. Her sister passed away years and years ago, and she did the probate on her own. Like the form you're looking at is on the court's website. It's one of the court's forms. You can go get it. So she got the court's forms. She did the thing with probate. She followed the instructions as best she can. She's a smart lady. Like I won't tell you what business she's in, but she's a professional. Like you would be impressed. Thought she was all done. Her sister had like 40 grand or something like that she had to do the paperwork to be able to get. And she goes on with her life. Just, she's done. She lives in another state. She goes on with her life. This all happened in Arizona. And then we get a call from her saying, oh my gosh, her long lost ex-husband has hired a lawyer and is now suing me for money from her estate. What? That doesn't make sense. So we dig in. I start looking through everything she did. And oh, whoops, lo and behold, she forgot one little step at the beginning that would have triggered a statute of limitations against him so that he couldn't do that. But she didn't do that. So here we are years and years and years later. She's paying out of her own pocket to us to defend her, to deal with that stupid lawyer who took his case, but he ended up resolving it, getting them to go away with a bunch of money out of her own pocket. That's not what her sister wanted her to have. Her sister didn't want her to have that mess at all, but it just happened because she didn't do everything exactly correct when she was going through the probate process on her own. So don't dabble in this. You got to be really careful. Read the instructions very, very carefully. You got to provide notice to creditors, right? It's a big one. You got to be very comfortable giving legal notice and how that works in the newspaper, in the legal section, directly to creditors, to unknown creditors. How do you do that, Francisco? It's all in the instructions. If you want to figure it out, just don't screw it up. And then when you get to the end, you're the one who's going to be deciding who gets what out of the estate. If you're the person representative, you see all the things I'm skipping, right? Distribute remaining assets. That's the fun part. Everybody thinks that should come first. Nope. It comes last, basically. But if you're the person representative, it's your job to make sure you've done the numbers correctly. You've added it up. You say, you get this much, you get this much, and we're clear. Make sure when you figure out what you think everybody should get, they sign something agreeing to the numbers you came up with. Yeah, have them sign that off, because then at least you're protected a little bit. If it's grossly wrong, I don't know how much it's going to be protecting you, but make sure you get that sign off. All right. So if you are dealing with a death of a loved one and you're trying to figure this stuff out and you don't want to figure it out anymore, you just want to outsource it. That's what we do. We'll guide you through the process. Just click below, click here in the video to go right to a scheduling page, or you can always call. The phone number will be up on the screen, guys. All right. I told you it was a quick episode of Rethink Your Legacy, but it's wonderful to be back here with you guys in live action motion where you can see my lovely face. Ha ha ha. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day.